Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we're going to talk about quite a few different various things all throughout this week, because we actually had a pretty intriguing week nonetheless. We had a lot of restock stuff going on. We had some really kind of big restocks too as well. In my opinion, some pretty good news for the next few weeks of restock, some ongoing stock, and just a bunch of little various things too as well throughout this week. We've had a lot of pretty good news, I would go and say, when it comes to stock and kind of things slowly becoming normal. We've had a lot of really big leaks. We've had a lot of information. We've just had a lot of big stuff going on. So doing a quick little late night video to kind of go talk about this stuff before we go and kind of chill and hang out up on Twitch. If you guys want to hang out over there, the link will be down below. Same with the usual Twitter. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. We have the Amazon links down below, the Twitter and Twitch room links down below, and all the usual stuff as well. So let's go talk about this week, talk about the good and the bad, but mostly kind of good, I would say. So with this, when it comes to everything all throughout this week, we had some very good PlayStation tracks, to the point where it almost kind of seems like it's kind of pushing slowly towards things kind of becoming normal. Now, both those drops, we actually had two of them that were also open to the public, to pretty much everyone. They were up for multiple hours. Like, we're talking like 2-3 hours. We saw like thousands of people getting stock. We saw thousands of people getting the hookup. People on Twitter, people on Twitch, people pretty much everywhere all had a good amount of stock. It was just all around a good vibe. So I was pretty happy with that. Like, I can't really go and complain ever almost too much when it comes to us having stock, getting stock, receiving consoles. Like, it's just kind of good. And as well, it does kind of seem like recently these PlayStation Directs throughout the week, which, like I said, we had two of them this week, have just been phenomenal. Like, they've had a lot of people get their consoles, usually shipping within the week, you know, sometimes 2 days, sometimes a week, and just everything with that is just a great feeling. And that was one of the bigger focuses, because we're still waiting for some of the bigger retailers throughout this week. A good example is, I think Target's been a little bit more on the quieter side. We saw like a little bit floating around. We saw a few little bits of consoles floating around, I'm sure. But like, it really wasn't that big. It really wasn't that big of a focus. It wasn't really that huge, which does kind of stink. But then the part two is I also didn't see anything from Walmart. Kind of sad, but they are still overdue for some of their previous PlayStation 5 consoles and all their stock going on with that. And that stinks. Like, we want to get our consoles, don't get me wrong. I want that good stuff. But at least, like I said, we did have a lot of big focus on Best Buy. We had a pretty okay focus even as of today with GameStop and the PlayStation Directs. Now, kind of to go talk a little bit more about the PlayStation Directs. Typically, whenever you've seen those, they're kind of like a nice preemptive indicator of all the next upcoming stock and stock drops. So what I mean by that is that we would usually go and see, like, say, the PlayStation Directs. They go open, they go public, or they have like quite a few invite queues that last a long time. And then typically whenever that happens, it turns into a lot of these big retailers. So like the Amazons, the Targets, the Best Buys, the everythings out there, and they usually get a lot more extra stock. I mean, because it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like if you're a big retailer and producer, you know, the people who are making all these consoles, you kind of need to literally make them first. You know, you need to make sure all the obligations and contractual obligations are all set. And then after that's all good, then you guys can go and be like, all right, cool, let's go and start selling some on our own. And that's kind of a big point where we were a lot throughout this week, where Sony themselves were clutching it on up. They were making a lot of people happy. They were having a really good vibe. And pretty much everyone out there was just, well, getting their consoles. And I think that was a really nice, good vibe to have. Mainly because people getting their consoles is kind of still the big purpose of our channel. Which, by the way, it's still at some point I would like to focus more on, like, you know, future news and gaming stuff too, when it comes to the channel. Because I do like that a lot. And I always kind of say I want to, like, always fine tune into more of like a concise or better video. And I think I've been doing that slightly better. Not the best, obviously, but maybe still in the future I still would want to maybe do like one proper good video a day, put all the highlights of it, and go from there. So we might still at some point do that whenever we kind of calm down to restocks. But when it comes throughout the week, we saw good stuff. Like, we saw the mid-tier places, such as like the Anton Lines. They had some good stuff. They did like 3 drops. We had Sam's Club as well, finally working the fray. We saw Microsoft Online selling directly for folks for their Xboxes. We saw Best Buy's having stock, and even as of now, with probably a lot of walk-ins, we've had their Best Buy now, or GameStop now, probably throughout this entire weekend. And both of those drops throughout this weekend, we'll probably obviously talk about a little bit more tomorrow. But when it comes to that stuff, we're going to just be seeing a lot of good stuff. And hopefully this will also translate to a lot to Canada. and also to, like, say, Mexico, let's say to the UK and Europe, because usually whenever, like I keep saying, there's a lot of stock available for Sony themselves to physically sell consoles, and they're turning some good profit and making some good money. As they do that, that pretty much just kind of means that we have a pretty good chance of getting more stock and a pretty good chance of us getting more consoles and a pretty good chance for just having a nice week. So, at least for this week, we've had a pretty good time. We didn't really see too much, though, for walk-ins, so think like the Myers, Fred Meyers, Kroger's, Smith's, Militaries, BJ's and stuff like that, Myers. But all those locations, at least, will maybe be on the lookout this weekend. If not this weekend, maybe even next weekend. Or maybe we'll even have just a lot more really big PlayStation Direct drops, and that will mean that a lot of us out here watching can maybe go get some more consoles. But we're also overdue for things like, say, Walmart, which should hopefully be getting their consoles sorted soon. And as they get more and more stuff sorted throughout the weeks, that'll basically just be even better news for all of us, because it'll give us a good chance to get some stock and a good chance to get some hookup and go from there, which I'm pretty hyped up for. I like that. I like the fact that we're getting in all the stock. And that's one of the big things, too, is I've loved all the tweets we've gotten throughout these past, week or so of people being like, oh my God, I finally got my console. Or the YouTube comments or the Reddit comments or wherever people may be. It really does kind of put a nice smile on my face, because it kind of seems like we're still a little bit on more the tail end of this big restock drought, but at least it does seem like a lot of folks are finally getting their consoles and finally getting their drops and finally getting the hookup and finally moving on and having a chance to enjoy these games. And as well, just for the general gaming news too as well, we saw a lot of intriguing stuff more so on the legal side. So we obviously saw a lot of God of War leaks. If you guys have been watching all those and seeing all their stock in general, it is big. We are hopefully going to be seeing maybe another state of play this week throughout the next little bit, which sadly didn't happen this week, but we did have at least some kind of cool stuff, like the YouTuber who made a really cool PlayStation 5 Slim and a few other various sales going on. PS Plus finally has been kind of getting fully in motion too as well. We've been seeing some pretty cool stuff recently, and I do like that. But as well, like I said, we also might have some nice state of plays throughout this upcoming week. We have the new Sony itself, too, where they had the new news with the new monitors, new PS5 Pro controllers, and also just everything else with the headsets. So we are still seeing generally cool news and updates coming out when it comes to these things. Or same thing with say the Game Pass, where Game Pass has that 3 months for $1, and we've also been seeing say the GameStop Pro Reward sale, where we're seeing really good news for trade-ins. At the end of the day, this entire week actually was a pretty solid week with loads of Sony restocks. I love to see that. With loads of Sony drops, I love to see that. When it comes to loads of consoles and people being happy, we love to see it. The fact that a lot of these big retailers are also overdue, which will hopefully mean these next few weeks will be even better, is even nicer news to go and see. And as well, we even will probably have a lot of folks throughout this weekend with Best Buy and GameStop get a lot of drops. And then maybe in the upcoming week for Target, maybe we'll see a lot of drops from them too as well. So just everything this week actually turned out pretty good. Better than expected, and I'm happy with it. And you can kind of give me your thoughts throughout this week too as well. Did you guys have a good week? Did you guys have a bad week? Was it a good week for stock? Are you guys even still looking for consoles? Maybe I'll even try to put a nice Twitter post and community post as well in the near future for when it comes to just drops and seeing how everything kind of goes and everything else. But at the end of the day, I'm just happy that we had a pretty good, successful week. That Sony came in clutch. They did a lot of consoles, they did a lot of drops, and hopefully made a lot of folks happy, and a lot of people who have been waiting can hopefully get them sooner rather than later. And it kind of would make me pretty happy too if a lot of you folks watching that still need your consoles will get it sooner rather than later. So if any of you guys, like I said, want to talk about the week, talk about the details, feel free to. And as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Check out all the videos on the channel throughout today. We had a few nice little mixed on in. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below. We have the Amazon links for the signups, which also I don't think I really talked about too. We also did have Amazon signups start happening as well, which is also nice to cool and happen these past 2 weeks. We actually saw quite a few folks start getting those as well. So it kind of seems like at least we're seeing a lot of activeness from all these big retailers too, which is nice. We also do have the Weebles down below. We have the Twitches down below if you guys want to follow. The Twitters down below. And like I said, I just had a good week, good vibes. And although I was sick for some of this week, hopefully I'll keep on being a little bit better all throughout these next few days. So I appreciate you guys all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys all watching throughout the week. And we'll have a lot more videos throughout this weekend if we see more news and restock news and all of that. I appreciate you guys all so much. I'll see you guys up later on.